Okay, well, in today's video, I want to talk about a different change in perspective that I had very recently. Something that has been quite a long time in the making, and a few days ago, I really understood in a different way. And before I go into the change, I want to kind of set up the premise. Um, and one of the ideas that I recently learned is um, that there's a kind of a movement from this fixed and rigid point or view of self to a more fluid, flexible view of self. So, what do I mean by that? Um, well, often there you can see in people, you can see like a different, um, uh, how do you say, a different way in which they handle life and in which they handle themselves, right? Some people, they are anxious people, for example, or people who haven't really worked on themselves, let's say, they can have quite a no, I don't want to say that. That's not the right way to say it. Okay, for example, let's take this situation, right? I begin this video and it feels like I'm giving a talk, right? And it's not really flowing the way that I want it to be. But still I try to kind of go along, force it, but then I get stuck and I say things that I don't really want to say and it sounds stupid. And it is actually because there's this idea of how I want it to be. Or you could say I have this idea of how I should be, right? How I should act in front of the camera. And then on the other hand, there is how I am, right? There's how I should be, and there's how I am. And the big change that I had recently was that I became aware of this dynamic, right? This dynamic of how I want things to be, or how I want myself to be, and how I actually feel. And this should, to put it bluntly, just creates a lot of suffering, creates a lot of problems, right? How I should be, there's nothing that has caused me more trouble, more pain than my own expectation of how I should be, right? One of those shoulds, right? One of those things that I expect of myself is that I appear confident. For me personally, I don't know why, it's something that kind of, I was conditioned in some way that I really admire confident people, and I really always want to be like that. Whenever I meet somebody who's really confident, really secure in themselves, I'm like, fuck, I want that. I want to be like that person. So whenever I'm going to be acting, or whenever I perceive that I'm acting unconfidently, I feel bad, right? I'm not living up to my expectations, and that that just makes me feel bad. Now, what? Oh no, somebody's gonna do construction upstairs. Okay, fuck it. Well, what I learned recently is, you know what? I can actually be myself, right? I don't have to be this thing. I can just be however I wanna be. Like, I can be myself. It's such a relief, And what does it mean? I can be insecure. I can be full of doubt. I can be unsure of myself, unsure of life, what I want to do with life. I can actually be those things. And that's kind of okay, right? To be those things, even though it doesn't feel like that. But the problem is more that there's a part that doesn't want you to feel that way. But then if you just feel that way, it's not really a problem. Like if I, there's like a part of me that's like, okay, don't show your insecurity. Don't show that you're doubting yourself, that you're, you know, and this part wants to protect me, right? It wants to uh, make sure that I don't feel hurt, right? Because if I feel insecure and I show it, then maybe other people will judge me. And this is also why I think that in my entire life, I never really experienced this confidence, right? I never really had this center of confidence. Um, this is something I never had, right? I learned to be able to act confident, but I never really felt that I had this center of confidence. And I think the reason for that is that, let's say that I did have this center of confidence, and I would, and I would be confident. That would mean that I would actually be in the world. Like I would say things, I would give my opinion, I will talk, I would show people who I am. But then if you show people that you exist, right? If you show people that you are there, then that also exposes you, right? That automatically exposes you to criticism of other people. Now, I think at some point in my childhood or when I was growing up, I probably couldn't handle that. I didn't want to feel that pain of, rejection or what other people think, like this negative judgment. I just couldn't handle that feeling. So what's the solution? Well, you take away the confidence, right? So there's nothing to be judged. There's nobody to be judged because there is nobody. Like I'm just in the corner, right? I'm not saying anything, so I don't put myself in danger, expose myself. Right. So that's one of the things that I learned recently, which became really clear. And then I had this feeling that like you're always wearing a mask, more or less. Like you're never really showing your real self. And that's what I see when I look at a lot of relationships or other people. I see that people don't really show themselves. Like we really don't show what we really feel. So let's say, okay, what do I feel now? Well, I'm kind of worried that there's somebody working upstairs, and I'm kind of worried that it's gonna fuck up my audio. Then I feel tension. Kind of here in my body. Then I also kind of feel like I'm still kind of acting in this role. Right? In this moment, I still feel like I'm kind of putting on a show. Like, kind of, I have this thought in the background that's kind of like, okay, what are people gonna think of this? How is it going to be perceived? More importantly, I hope it's not going to be perceived in a negative way. Like I can already see my mind thinking like, hey, people are going to watch it and this is how they're going to respond. Right? So that's happening in this moment. Now, when I would have made this video a year ago, I would have not said those things, because to say those things is to be vulnerable, right? I'm being vulnerable, and being vulnerable is dangerous, right? That's like showing your weakness. But what I know now is that to actually be able to show your weakness is more a sign of real strength than to always have to be strong. Right? So I'm training myself to be weak. How strange that may sound. I'm training myself, or I'm kind of like showing myself, hey, I can really be me. I can actually be myself. and there's not going to be danger. People are going to they might even like it because it gives them the opportunity to be themselves as well. Like, let's say you have a dinner party and everybody is kind of like, it's just one big play, like one big acting show. Like everybody is kind of showing, their best selves, but there's at the same time there's this tension. Like, there's this fear of making a mistake. But let's say then somebody goes into the room and they're completely themselves. And yes, they fuck up, but it's not a problem. Everybody kind of relaxes, like, I don't have to be this way. I can actually be myself. And that's that's missing, right? That quality of, it's okay to be me. It's okay to be you. And that's why I also want to make this video and talk about this, even though I'm probably, if I look back, if I see this video again, I'm not gonna like it, but because I'm still going to judge myself. But that's kind of the process. Like I'm kind of training myself to be me. This whole process of accepting yourself, right? Which is so like a cliche almost, but there is some truth in that, and that's a process. And I think one of the steps is to allow yourself to be you, and that means to be everything that you are. So now I'm also like, if I feel angry, I'm just gonna be angry. If I feel sad, I'm just gonna be sad. I'm not gonna be perfectly doing it, because there's still gonna be resistance, but it's the trying, like it's the letting it flow, letting it go. And I think that's really important. It feels right. That's what I notice. It just feels right. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, if you understand what I mean, and how it is for you. All right, see you later.